to the Friends Fun TV. Today we're at Gainer Cranberry Company. Woohoo!
What are you wearing?
Waders.
Waiters, how come? Where are we?
We're at the cranberry place.
We are? How do you know?
Oh, there's cranberries right there.
Should we show the viewers where we're at?
Yeah.
Oh, there's the marshes. Now what's over here? What are all those?
They're the big trucks that get the cranberries.
Very cool. Where are we going now?
Going to the cranberries.
We're going to the cranberries?
Yeah.
This bed has already been harvested.
Mhm.
Can you tell how it's been already harvested? Do you know why?
Because there's lots of plants on it.
That's good. The plants are going into their sleep mode. They're becoming dormant, but there's no irrigation pipe in there. So we use sprinklers to protect them when it gets really cold. You know, the pipes are all on the ground, but they're not hooked up. They're all unhooked. So that would be a sign if you were driving by and wondering what's going on here. And because they don't grow in water, we have to drain the water off so they're not flooded. You can still see the water in the ditches because we've got a lot of water happening right now.
So what would happen if you left them flooded? It would kill the
It
plants?
would kill the plants.
It would kill the plants, Ben. So they got to get all that water off there. So what do you notice about...
And you don't want to kill the plants. If you want more cranberries, then you need to get them harvested.
And they come back every year. We don't have to replant. They're called perennial plants.
Well,
So on your right, this is a flood ditch. So this is how we bring our water in from our big reservoirs. And when we want to drain the water off of these beds, these have also been harvested. I don't see any irrigation pipe. There's no cranberries. You would never have this kind of water over top cranberries that are being harvested unless you're actually picking them. So you're like, okay, this is done. So how do you get the water off? Well, there's culverts inside here, and then it pushes the water into this ditch, and then from here it goes south.
You know why it goes south, Finley?
no.
Because the beds out by the road are higher than the beds down here, so gravity pulls the water out.
Just like how a stream only flows one way or a river only flows one way.
Right. I would say once you start pulling the water, less than a day, but more than an hour.
Gotcha.
How about that?
Should they have a plan when they need to start moving water?
So yeah, there's like once the bed has been picked, then the next stage is making sure that all of the leaf material that was left over is picked up. So we have a crew that is going around with long poles and nets on the end,
Okay.
and then they're scooping
all the
up. We
plants up.
call it the extra debris, or
It's like skimming a pool, right?
it's like skimming a pool. Yeah.
Wow, cool.
And then once all of that trash is picked up, or all the leaves are gathered and collected, then it's time for us to pull the water.
This is the water that's over here. Was it over on the other side of the road?
It was. Yep.
Is that where you start on that side and move your way this way?
We
or-
do. We start north and move south, but we have some beds that they were planted in a spot where they're ready, but the rest of the beds are not ready, but we
Okay.
still have to harvest them. So we have the ability to still use these flood ditches and exclusively
To move water
isolate
around, sure.
the ones that we want to flood. This is what feeds our sprinkler systems. So this is called main line, and we have above ground main line, so it's not buried underground. It helps if you need to maintain it, but it's also a little cumbersome when you have tractors. You don't want to roll over your pipe. So some people like to have the pipe underground because it's more efficient for your heavy equipment. When the cranberries wake up from their sleep.
And
That's
then,
why I like to call them sleeping beauties.
yeah. So then if they're sleeping in the spring, but you're going to get a hard frost, you turn on the sprinklers to keep them from
Absolutely,
freezing?
yes. But sometimes Mother Nature has a funny sense of humor, and she will send frost our way before our sprinkler system is set up.
Oh, sure.
So what we do then is we use our water resources. So we'll flood the marsh.
Just flood it
Just
to
like
protect
we do,
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably the only time you're going to see an entire cranberry marsh flooded with water. During harvest, you would never do that because you can't harvest all at the same time.
Sure.
And they would die if they're under the water too long. So you do it in sections.
Okay.
But during a fall a really harsh freeze, because on the very top you have that bud that you're trying to protect.
Yeah, because it has next year's bud on it already.
Exactly. So until they're absolutely dormant, we try to be mindful of protecting them.
Sure. Look at that cranberry bed full of berries out here. Look at that.
I want to go in there.
We're definitely gonna get you in there.
See all these berries, Finn? The tractor ahead of us is pulling the berries off the vines.
Kind of like a comb or a brush.
So they can take the pipes out and get the cranberries.
Well, because you don't want the tractor to run the pipes over, right?
That's right. So they're moving the pipe out of the way for the tractor to get by.
Because if the tractor runs the pipe over, then it'll think it'll break because it's only supposed to be going on cranberries.
That's right. The weight of the tractor would do damage to the pipe, and you don't know if it would damage the tractor either.
And then you wouldn't be able to get your water where you needed it to go, and your tractor might break down.
And then we get up too close to this. It's called a harrow. The tractor with the harrow attached.
Do they just have to make one pass with the harrow?
One pass because we only go over the vines one time, and it does the job.
So what we're looking at up close to us right now is cranberries that they've been beaten off the vine by the harrow, and on the other side over there is just a flooded marsh that has cranberries still connected to their vines. So you train your vines to grow in one direction.
Yes.
And how do you train a cranberry vine?
You always go the same direction every single time.
Okay, and then they just know to grow that way.
No, so on this
So
side
cool.
they're trained to grow this way, and then on the other half of this bed they're trained to go this way.
The other way.
And
That's
the reason
so
we
cool.
do that is just we're always worried and concerned about the vine vitality, and we want to be efficient with our harvest process.
Yeah, right.
So you don't, in other words, you don't want the tractor to turn around inside the bed.
Because it'll damage the vines.
Right.
Wow, so cool. They really are like fragile, but so
Fragile and
incredibly.
hardy.
Yeah, they're
Just
so
humans.
incredibly hardy. That's amazing.
Do you know why they float, Finley?
You know.
I think you do. Do you remember from your virtual field trip? What did Heidi say was inside the cranberry?
Want to open it for me? You don't need to open it. Can you cut it in half?
I can't.
Need some help?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a longer fingernail. Maybe that helps. Oh,
Oh yeah, the seed.
the seeds. And then what are these four things? Are they full or are they empty?
They're empty.
Yeah, they're hollow.
So what do you think might be in that, Finn, if it's hollow? Same thing that you have in your lungs? What is it?
Air.
Air.
Yeah.
And the air is less dense than water, so they float.
Yep. They become buoyant when you have air inside of something. Pretty cool, huh? In our hearts, we have 4 heart chambers. That's why I always like to describe these as they remind me of our hearts.
Yeah, cranberries have 4 chambers too.
Yeah. It's like they're combing the cranberries' hair. And that's how they get picked and plucked off their vines. Pretty cool, huh?
They don't look like.
They don't.
Just imagine before they had all these tractors and equipment, how long it took to put those ramps in and out.
Oh,
And
very
sore
long.
backs.
Well, imagine before they had any of this machinery, how they went in and picked these all by hand.
Very labor intensive.
Yeah.
I thought I read somewhere that this farm used to employ over 600 people
During a harvest.
during
That's
a harvest.
crazy.
That's a lot. That's
That's
like
a lot
a
of
town.
people. Yeah.
See, there must be a ramp
That's
in the
more than
corner.
a town.
So see,
See?
there's a ramp right there, so he doesn't need the bridge. Could be cool, huh?
See how he put his combs back in the water, Finley? And then he doesn't have wheels, Heidi. He's got those tracks. Is that easier on the vines? Good. So, Finley, did you know that when they are picking the berries off these vines right now, that the vine already has the bud on it that's going to turn into the cranberry for next year? Did you know that?
That's a cool thing about cranberries.
Yeah. So what they're doing right now, they have to be very careful to preserve what's going to happen next year for their harvest. Heidi, how come they're not all the same color?
Wow. Although they all have been given the same amount of food and the same amount of water, the one difference that would be different between a really red cranberry and a white cranberry is their exposure to sun. So it's a microvine, but these berries grow on these uprights, and the berries on the bottom, they're going to be kind of like underneath all the big red ones, so they're not going to see the sun. So they're hidden in the canopy of berries and vines, and that's why they're white.
So some cranberries block the sun for the other cranberries, Finley. And then the ones that don't get as much sun don't turn bright red. They stay white.
Cool, huh? Ellen, how about next harvest you come back and we'll put some goggles and a snorkel on?
Yeah!
What are you about to do?
I'm about to do. Go in the cranberry.
Go in the cranberry bog? Oh boy. So cool.
Yeah.
What's going on with your hands?
So cool.
A little cold. Yeah, the water's cold, huh?
Wait. He's focused. Okay. Trash. But we want it out of the bed because we don't want it sitting in the bed, and it flows right now. So we've got our pipe crew. When they're done doing that, they'll come over and then once all this is cooked up, then we can set the water back to It's so beautiful
Yep.
and so fascinating. You
Yep.
can't even get this experience at Walt Disney.
Yeah, right.
But people get a little blindsided by the fascination
Sure.
that they think that it's appropriate and okay to give themselves self-guided highway harvest tours.
Oh boy, yeah. No, that's a problem.
So it's still private property. If anyone would ever put their car in the ditch,
Yeah.
that's water.
Yep.
And now we have a biohazard.
And yep.
And then some people will walk right up to the machines with their dogs.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's just all kinds of
Right.
like unwanted,
Yeah.
unsolicited engagement. We would rather engage in a different way.
Yeah.
We're harvested last week.
So when they turn burgundy, they're going back dormant again? Okay. And the cold weather and the length of the day probably
Absolutely
plays
That
into
is-
it. Yep.
That's 100% the reason why they grow so well in Massachusetts, New Jersey, Wisconsin, Washington, Oregon, and then British Columbia, Quebec, and Nova Scotia.
Okay.
Those northern climates.
Yep.
And then of course we have a little area in Chile that grows cranberries because they mirror our growing climate,
Oh, sure.
and they have the soil and the water that is perfect for cranberries.
Every place on your marsh 150 years ago looked like this untouched wetland. And it's so important for you to preserve that
Yep.
to keep the water levels, I would imagine.
It helps with our water levels. It helps with the ecosystem.
Sure, water filtration, everything.
All
Yeah.
of it,
Yep. So cool. Finley, I feel like that's a big part of knowing what you're getting into when you work on a cranberry marsh, right? You got to work in all different weathers,
Yeah.
all different temperatures.
The only time we are not allowed outside to work, the only time, is when it's lightning out. Otherwise, cranberry growers work through every single kind of weather.
I bet they've even worked through snow,
Oh
Finley.
yeah, we hit snow last harvest.
Oh boy,
When you nest, we have loons that nest up here,
the loon's nest.
and
Which
we
are
call
on?
this our ocean because this is our primary source of water.
Okay.
And the loon's nest is where we gather for company outings and family barbecues and stuff like that.
But your water management, is it all like manual or is anything computerized where
It's
you
all
can?
manual. Someone wanted
Okay.
to ask me, and I thought it was the greatest question, and I tried not to laugh at it, but it was, she asked if there was an on and off button for
Yeah.
our culverts, and
sure.
I said, no, actually, none of it's digitized or mechanicalized, or whatever the word is.
Yeah,
It's all
just by hand.
by hand,
labor.
handcrafted labor.
Yep.
Just wood, probably, right?
It's wood boards.
Yep.
And even the veterans can, little silly little things happen, and he accidentally slipped. So it's a dangerous job. I mean, there's been growers who have
See the wood in there, Finn?
had some bad things happen when they slip and fall or
Yeah.
hurt themselves in the tools they're using.
Yeah.
The trucks that you're sorting it from. So we didn't have a chance to highlight that with Finley and there, but we had two trucks. One was collecting the leaf debris, and the other was collecting the cranberries. So we use this as a compost
Compost.
pile.
So how many things, Finley, can you think of that have cranberries in them or are made from cranberries? Let's do a challenge. What do you got?
Cranberry juice,
Cranberry juice?
cranberry jelly,
Cranberry jelly. Can you look at me? Cranberry juice, cranberry jelly. What comes in the little packets that you sometimes get as a snack at school? Or breakfast at school? I know you don't eat breakfast, but they're dried cranberries. What do we call those? Do you remember?
no, raisins.
Craisins. Craisins. Yep.
Raisins.
And Finley, do you think that cranberries are a fruit or a vegetable?
Vegetable.
You think it's a vegetable?
A fruit.
You think it's a fruit? What's your final answer here? Lock it in. A fruit? What do we think, Heidi? Is he right?
You are right. Do you know it's Wisconsin state fruit?
Really?
Whoa! Fun fact, huh, Finn? Wisconsin grows more cranberries than any other state. That's amazing.
Or I have a barrel of cranberries to sell you. So then they had to come up with, well, what's the price for a barrel? So that's how we are still paid today, is price per barrel.
Price per barrel, which is 100 pounds. Price per 100 pounds of cranberries.
Gonna hold on to it.
So, do you remember that tractor that had those tines on the back and Heidi said it was like combing the vines? Like combing your hair? Before they had tractors, this is what it was, buddy. It was a person with that and you would scoop it.
Scoop it.
Yep, and you would comb them right off the vines, and then your cranberries would end up in there.
That's backbreaking work, isn't it?
That's
it's
like,
heavy.
and it's like sharp as a bow staff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This is the boss's office. What do you think? Is it a nice office for a boss?
For a boss, but not for me. It's too plain.
Hey, Finn,
But
did you know that there would be an office part to growing cranberries today? No, you gotta have that business part of it too, where you keep everything operating smoothly, right?
You have a lot of data to analyze and a lot of information to store, and we have employees, so we have to make sure that they have enough money in their paychecks and insurance so they can go to the doctor, enough gas in the gas tank so we can fuel up our trucks. That's all my responsibility.
It's a lot of work, huh?
Mm-hmm. You call this the sorting room. You want to know why we call it the sorting room?
What did you find? Cranberries? No way.
cranberries.
The good ones from the bad ones? What makes a good cranberry from a bad cranberry?
I don't know.
Well, let's find a bad cranberry. Would you want to
Is
be...
this a bad cranberry?
Well, it kind of feels squishy as compared to this one. Which one is more firm? So I would guess this is a bad cranberry. You don't want it to feel like a grape. You want it to feel nice and hard, like an apple. Nicked by some hail. And that hard, you know what hail is?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if the hail comes down, they can damage our cranberries. And then they're not any good. That would get rejected from ocean spray. They don't want rotten fruit. You want to give it a try? I would take the stem off, or you'll have that in your teeth. Give it a try. It's really tart. Like a Sour Patch Kid minus the sugar. You can do it.
That's a really good question, Finn.
Like-
How do they make it not so sour?
Yeah, like maybe raspberry juice or cherry juice.
I can feel the bottom of this.
Yeah. It's only this big. Really.
Yeah, I'm touching the bottom.
See it?
Yeah, this is
So these are called drying crates. These are as old as this marsh. Almost 150 years old.
Oh, I found a really, that's
Oh,
rotten.
it's rotten.
The
So
really rotten ones are at the bottom. That's all.
So we used to only sell these because in 150 years ago, they didn't have juice or sauce or dried cranberries, only this fresh fruit. So we had to do a lot of storage. We had to dry them, store them, and sort them.
Heidi told me a fun fact, and that is that cranberries bounce. So if you hold that up over the table and you drop it, you got a bouncing cranberry.
That one's definitely bouncing.
So the good one definitely bounced more.
Looks extra wide.
Yeah, it has to be wide enough to carry those drying crates.
Oh,
This is a storage facility when it was originally built, so it had to be wide enough.
Wow.
oh gosh.
There we go. And feel this. This is a super old wood. It's super smooth. That means a lot of people have come up and down the staircase. This is an elevator. Not for people, but for our drying crates. So this is how they would bring the drying crates up with cranberries. Up and down, up and down. Pretty cool, huh?
Imagine if I got my hat down there.
Oh, can you imagine? Yes.
My
Now
hat
where do
would
you store
probably
them?
turn into.
It goes right to Ocean Spray's receiving station to a freezer.
If they were stored up here, they were dried?
They would hang out outside underneath the drying shed,
Okay.
and naturally dry, and then they would come in here, and I gotta double check the process, but I think they would keep them in the drying crates stored up here, and then when they were ready for market, they would have to go through the sorting machine.
Okay. You mow them.
Mm-hmm.
Like mowing
Like a
grass.
haircut,
Like a
yeah.
haircut, you cut them off and then pick that up out of there.
Like you haircut your hair.
And if you plant a new vine, are you planting a cranberry?
We are not planting a cranberry when we plant vines. It's either vines that they're vines that we bought from someone. So they
Okay.
either look like they're in a cube hay bale,
Okay.
but of vines.
Okay.
Ben?
And they have roots on one end that you have to pop down in?
Nope, those are called plugs.
Okay.
But those are more expensive. So plugs are an established upright.
Okay.
And then you plant them in the ground like that. But
Okay.
they're a lot more expensive and a lot more labor intensive, and you need them with special equipment.
Sure.
When you have these baled vines,
Yep.
because they're vine and they'll root themselves, they're smart enough to know that. We actually use a machine. It's a retired manure spreader. So you put the like the vine
Yeah.
in the machine, and it spits it out.
And it just
and
throws
then our job is to walk behind and unclump them and
Okay.
make sure that they're evenly dispersed, so you can't see any of the sand. And then a
Then you're
machine will disc them through, and then kind of like your grandma's roller,
Yeah.
rolling machine that
Flattens it
them
out.
down.
Okay.
Yep.
And do you put sand on top of it then, or
Nope,
just disc it in?
sprinklers. We
Okay.
just water them in so the
And then
sand
it-
doesn't blow all over.
Yeah.
And they don't blow all over.
Cheers.
Cheers.